Hi, everyone. I am Patricia Langen with WEConnect International, the Regional Director for the Middle East, and I welcome you to this first in a series of webinars for women-owned businesses based in the GCC to help you learn how to better connect to markets. And today's webinar is how to do business with Procter & Gamble. And I want to just mention that these webinars are expert-led, and they are led by our member buyers, who are large companies around the world who want to buy more from women-owned businesses. And actually, this series was inspired by Procter & Gamble, and I want to thank Nihal Hashish, who will be speaking a little bit later, for her inspiration. And since WEConnect International is new to the region, I will give you a short introduction to WEConnect International, and then I'm going to pass the rest of the webinar on to our colleagues at Procter & Gamble. And I am going to share my screen here. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint? Okay,
yes.
Great. Great.
Yes.
We do.
Thank you. Let me quickly run through the agenda for today. We'll have our introductions. I will introduce WEConnect International. Nihal will introduce Procter & Gamble's Supplier Diversity Program. And then we have Mohammed Sassouk and Diana Alayat will be talking about procurement at Procter & Gamble. We will take questions and answers at the end. We want to reserve enough time. As you think of questions, please chat them in. And we will invite people to unmute during the question and answer period if you'd like. Nihal will run through the key takeaways for today, and I'll close out and mention some other opportunities to meet us and learn together to help you get better market access. First of all, what is WEConnect International? I want to bring out some really important data that has inspired us and is the reason that we do what we do. There are up to 39% of all private businesses in the world owned by women. An important point is that if men and women participated equally in the economy, meaning as employees, as business owners, much research is showing that global gross domestic product would increase by at least $28 trillion, right? And then another really important statistic is that businesses that have at least one female founder have been found to be 63% better in performance than firms that only have a male founder and no women as founders. So I think that really points to the fact that women are at the center of global business. We have to acknowledge that. We have to make sure that they can participate equally. Another important point is that globally, women control 85% of all decisions regarding consumer spending, even about buying cars. Yeah, that might be a bit surprising to you, but what might even be more surprising is the fact that today, less than 1% of all large corporate and government procurement spending goes to women-owned businesses. So this is a huge mismatch that women are making so many spending decisions in the market. And yet for women-owned businesses who are trying to sell into markets and supply chains, there's not enough opportunities for them. And that's why WEConnect International exists. We were formed 11 years ago by the world's largest buying organizations, mainly corporations, because they couldn't find enough women-owned businesses to buy from. And our mission is to drive more money into the hands of those women business owners so that they can compete in the global marketplace. And we do this by helping to connect them to global supply chains. We are the only global nonprofit with member buyers who identify, register, certify, train, and connect these businesses to succeed in global markets. And I want to point out that we work with businesses outside the United States. We have a sister organization that works with women-owned businesses inside the United States. And the other point is that we identify and register these businesses on our database. We have 14,000 women-owned businesses on the database today in 125 countries. We also certify that those businesses are verifiably owned at least 51% by one or more women, and are also managed and controlled by women. This is the gold standard in the world for certification for women ownership. And we certify for all these companies. These are our 150 member buyers. Procter & Gamble is one of the most important ones, actually, and the most active, and they helped establish us 11 years ago. But you probably recognize many logos on here, and you probably buy a lot of these brands yourself. As I mentioned, our definition of women ownership is at least 51% of the company is owned by one or more women, and also managed and controlled by women, and the company is independent company. You can register for free on our database, and I encourage all of you to do that. The minute the webinar finishes, I'm going to be sending out this slide deck, and there are links to register in here. It takes 20 minutes. When you register, you are visible to all our 150 member buyers and also to women-owned businesses across the world. We don't certify in the UAE yet, but we do certify in 50 other countries, and we plan to be certifying in UAE by 2023. When you certify, you get the right to use the woman-owned logo, which was developed with Walmart. And if you shop in Walmart, you can see the logo all over in a lot of products there. With that, and if you have questions about WEConnect International, please chat them in now, if you don't mind. We'll address them later. I'd like to introduce Nihal Hashish, and she's going to take it from there. Thanks, Nihal.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad. So my name is Nihal Hashish. I'm Senior Purchasing Manager and Supplier Diversity Leader in Procter & Gamble, leading supplier diversity across Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today and to explain to you a bit about our supplier diversity program. It's part of our Png citizenship program, where we have a vision and a mission to commit to being a force for good and growth and force for growth in the communities where we operate in. We've started our supplier diversity program back in 2017 outside of the US. It's been there in the US since the 70s. And if we double click on the Middle East, supplier diversity is women-owned businesses. So, and the definition has been already shared by Patricia. And we do this because we truly believe when we achieve gender equality and women get a fair chance, equal to men, communities will grow, economies will thrive, and the world will be better, basically a better place. It's for us and for for all the generations to come. That's why we are hosting this webinar as part of a series that we're doing with WEConnect today. This is part of a plan to strengthen capacity of women-owned businesses here in the region, have WEConnect International startup here in the UAE and region, and get more women-owned businesses to register on the database, the WE community that Patricia has shared. This is a good thing for women entrepreneurs. When you log in and join and be part of this community, 150, if I recall the number Patricia shared, 150 registered companies or members such as Png and other companies will get access. So we all have a supplier diversity program, all these participating members. And one hurdle we have today is access or the knowledge of the available women-owned businesses in the regions or the communities we work in. So being part of it, it gives you access to unlimited number of suppliers that want to work with women-owned businesses. Of course, given that we have the right formula there. So this is a good thing for women entrepreneurs to join. Now, we're launching also today a new training program for women-owned businesses called the Png Women Entrepreneur Academy, Entrepreneurs Academy here in the UAE. This will be happening on March 7th. In our offices in Emirates Towers. This is an in-person training that will help women entrepreneurs to grow their business and access our senior leaders and learn firsthand from them how to grow and develop their businesses. Patricia will be sharing more about the Academy later at the end of the webinar. And now I will hand over to Mohammed and Diana to talk to you about to do business with Procter & Gamble. Diana is a senior purchasing manager handling logistics purchases in Saudi Gulf and Levant, and Mohammed Saksouk is our purchasing director for market operations in Saudi and Gulf. Thank you. I hand over to you.
Thank you, Nihal. Then maybe we can advance the slide. Very good. So hello, everyone. As Nihal mentioned, my name is Mohammed Saksouk, and I manage the purchases team for the Arabian Peninsula. It's a pleasure to be here with you. As Nihal and Patricia mentioned, Diana and I will be presenting a glimpse into the Png procurement process, who we are in the region, what do we buy, what are our principles and thought process, and finally a peek on the basics of bid process that would give you a flavor on how to conduct business with Png and similar companies in the close future. So, next slide, please. Let's jump right into it. What is purchasing and what do we do as a function in Png? In simple terms, through our external focus to the industry and suppliers, we are responsible and accountable for every single dollar sourced to our company, while always keeping stewardship and governance in mind. We always start with the business needs and the market drivers, determine the best strategic choices to address those needs, and then execute these choices with superiority. We manage the overall relationship to effectively represent Png to our external business partners and appropriately represent the partner to Png. This is what we call here bringing the outside in and inside out. By identifying the external best-in-class business practices, competencies, connect them to our internal partners, and integrate these capabilities to our business needs and consumer demands. Net, we work across the company, across functions, to be solution providers versus rather than just being price buyers. Please, if we can move on to the next slide. So how do we do that? We are guided by 5 global principles for strategic sourcing. These 5 principles, which are not policies, establish a foundation for our discipline and serves as guidelines in our day-to-day activities as we interact with external business partners. So here we go. First principle, the best total value. We make sourcing decision on the basis of the best total value offer, not just cost. Sure, cost is part of it, but best total value means cost, quality of goods, service performed, supply responsiveness, innovation, speak to market, and here within this context, supplier diversity, which is women-owned business as well. And this is just to name a few, and there's more. Second, we treat all our suppliers with respect and deal with them honestly, ethically, and fairly. This goes without saying that all of us conduct business in compliance with the law, but we drive more and we push our buyers and suppliers to optimize their working relationship to build the foundation trust. We do this not because we believe this is the right thing to do, but this is what makes working with Png attractive. Third, as mentioned previously, we are the link of the outside world to Png. So we link our business partners, competencies, and create effective and agile supply solution that deliver competitive advantage that are flexible enough to accommodate to market changes and business needs. Then, depending on business circumstances and market dynamics, we apply the strategic use of competition or collaboration or a blend of two. So we've always believed that competition is healthy. It encourages innovation and efficiency for our supply base and ultimately delivers optimum value over the long term. But we also believe that we must collaborate with our business partners that have the expertise and the core competencies to support us in creating value for our consumer and customer. Last, the supplier incumbency principle. So here the context is, as usual, that we seek to balance stability in our supply base. And so we prefer ongoing relationship with incumbent suppliers, meaning current suppliers, as we believe that they deliver lower long-term cost and higher value to the business. Therefore, to win our business, new suppliers must provide meaningfully better total value than the incumbent. This doesn't encourage complacency. On the contrary, this ensures that we value the history of our partnership in good and bad days. Last, not mentioned in the slide, as Nihal was saying, from a purchasing standpoint, we want to lead on the front of being force for good, force for growth. And there's a lot that can be talked about supplier citizenship, which you can see our Png website that discusses responsible sourcing when it comes to environmental sustainability, supplier diversity, quality inclusion, and more. Moving to the next slide, please. If you see here, this is a helicopter view of what we buy. And if there's anything I would like you to take away from the slide is to focus on the left side, which shows that we buy direct and indirect material. Direct material means raw material and packaging, while indirect material is everything else that goes from brand building, media, store, trial, transportation, warehousing, energy, capital, and more. I'll pause here for a few seconds so that to give you a look at our structure. And then I'll leave the floor to Diana to take you through the basics of bidding and supplier selection process. Diana, over to you.
Thank you so much, Muhammad. I'm not going to go too fast as Muhammad did. Let me start with maybe taking a few minutes to introduce myself to everyone in the call. So my name is Diana Al-Ayat. I'm originally Egyptian. I've been living all my life in UAE. I have all in total approximately 20 years of working experience. 11 out of that I've been in Png doing purchases. I started at the company more as an associate, and currently I've made my way up to a senior purchases manager. And I lead logistics for Saudi, Gulf, and Levant region. Throughout my career in Png and in my 11 years, I've had diverse experience working on white space areas, fragmented areas, complex areas. So frankly, it was a great career journey with exposure to different regions, different cultures. And I have a lot of passion into helping others. And this comes both personally and professionally. So besides my core responsibilities, I also lead the organizational health of our Dubai site employees. We have around 550 in Dubai. And I'm really pleased and so happy to have this opportunity to be having this session with all of you entrepreneurs. And thank you so much actually for you should thank yourself for taking the time into investing in yourself and taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate that. It is something which is really important to us. And it's becoming more and more important across the globe, basically. So it's not only P&G's direction, where, as Patricia mentioned, and as Nihal built on top, you know, like this is becoming more of a focus area to a lot of the large corporates out there. So it's very important to know what we think, how we think, and what matters. And we're going to speak lots of basics today. So there are no like rocket science equations. It's going to be the simple tips and tricks and basics in order to support you as women entrepreneurs into you know, gaining more business, expanding your presence, investing more in yourself, your company, your teams, and most importantly, encouraging also, you know, like more women own business across the globe, because I'm sure out of each one of you there is definitely an inspiring story of how you started, etc. So keep inspiring, keep investing in yourself, and we wish you all the best, right? Okay, now I'm ready to jump. Next slide, Patricia, please. So what is the procurement process? I'm going to make it very simple, no difficult abbreviations here. We will just think of it as a very simple flow. It all starts with a need, right? There are a lot of suppliers out there in the market, and there are a lot of companies out there that are looking for suppliers. But the most important question is, what is the business need? There is a significant difference between a need to have, good to have, a must-have, and a nice-to-have, right? So when you think about your business and when you think about approaching big companies, as clients, always ask yourself this question: Do I understand their problem statement? Am I really providing the solution that they truly need? This is a key question to ask yourself, because, for example, again, throughout my working experience, I've came across a lot of suppliers, different people, etc. Different stories. But and there are some very, very exciting solutions out there in the market. But then if it does not meet my business need and it's just a nice to have, as a company, I would not invest money into it, right? A lot of companies now are moving towards cost saving, ensuring optimization, making sure that they have the right equation in place, as Saksuk mentioned, and we'll talk more about what is the right equation. But keep always this in mind. Well, what is the business need? My product or my service, is it truly meeting the business that the problem statement that the client needs, right? And from there, this is how you can open the door to opportunities. So after understanding the business need, ensuring that you have the right solution in place, we start with what we call agency or supplier identification evaluation. So just to give you an example, when we talk, I handle logistics, right? So when we talk women-owned business in the logistics industry, for example, it's not women are not highly represented in this industry, and there are so many other industries where women are not present, right? So try to know your market, try to know where are you playing, try to know who's your competition, because this is where you can also add weight to what you are presenting to your client, right? So as we do the evaluation, all of these aspects we look into: is it a competitive environment? Are there a lot of suppliers available? If it's a niche market, for example, where can we get access to? Like for example, as Patricia mentioned, if you register to the WEConnect database, right? That's going to be great to P&G, great to you, and great to other clients that are looking for women-owned business, right? Because we are looking for this access to women-owned business, right? So I encourage you all, please do take the time to register if you haven't done that already. So again, recapping the need, problem statement, we start looking into the suppliers. We've identified who are the suppliers that we want to I'm sorry, I need to put my LinkedIn on my on do not disturb. Thank you. All right, so identifying the supplier, and then thereafter we start what we call is, once we've shortlisted who we want to invite into a bidding or negotiation, depending on what is the market that we're talking about, what's the service that we're looking for, we decide whether we bid, negotiate. And sometimes we actually do both. We can bid, we can do bidding, we can invite a large number of suppliers and then shortlist them, and then decide to negotiate with them. And this practice you will find it more or less as well happening in other large companies, right? So it's not something exclusive that P&G does. After the bidding negotiations, and once we've made all the evaluations of the best total value equation, which I will cover in the next slide, we do what we call is your business award letter. It's more of congratulations, you have been selected, this is the service, this is the scope of work expected from you. These are the KPIs that we expect you to deliver, etc. And then we conclude, like your contract or business award letter, we issue a purchase order for you, and then we start on the onboarding and execution. And let me stop here. The more complex your business is, or the service that you are providing, it could be vice versa. It could be that we want to test you first. We want to make sure that you are meeting our needs, and then thereafter we decide to award you the business, right? So some companies could go either ways. Either they do the awarding first and then the testing, or vice versa. And then, of course, the measures that we look into is basically what is the service that you're providing. We look at it as KPIs, key performance indicators, what we call, right? So it's a very detailed expectation with numbers, and then we look at you on maybe a monthly basis, bi-monthly basis, whatever we agree on assessing your performance versus what we've expected you to deliver as a service, or even to maybe produce as a good, right, in terms of quality, if you're into production. So this in a very simple terms is the flow of how companies make decisions, right? What is my problem? What's my need? Who are the suppliers I'm approaching? What kind of sourcing am I doing? Am I going to do bidding negotiation? Okay, so I did my evaluation, supplier selected, business awarded, congratulations. And then we start measuring your performance. And then for you also to know, like a contract definitely is a binding agreement, but it doesn't mean that it's not something that you should take for granted, basically, right? Because any company, even if you're awarded the business, any company expects you to keep on innovating, keep on bringing in new solutions, keep on expanding, right? So it's very important to continue investing into yourself and into your company and teams, right? So even if you got a big contract, don't just take it and rest and, okay, of course, celebrate it, but always look into bringing in what's new, because this is how the entire globe is moving now. What is new, how we can optimize, how we can simplify, what are the solutions out there, what are the technologies, capabilities. All of these are always questions on top of the head of big clients similar to P&G. Next slide, please.
Hi, I'm trying to forward it, sorry. There we go.
All right, so now the best total value. I've said this word maybe 4 times, Aksuk mentioned it probably another 2 times. So what do we mean by the best total value, right? In the mind of so many, when you talk purchasing or procurement, a lot of people don't really understand what do we do. And a lot of them just assume that we are there just to approve prices or sign contracts, or just issue POs, right? But procurement and purchasing as a function, also for you as an entrepreneur and a business owner, a business leader, you need to understand how does purchasing think of suppliers, right? And what do they expect from suppliers? So to us in P&G, I'll talk P&G, we look at best total value. So it's not only about your cost. I can have, for example, a bidding or a negotiation or receive proposals from so many suppliers. I don't necessarily go for the one who's offering me the lowest cost, although definitely cost is a very important topic and it's one of the top priorities of any company. But then it is not the only thing, because if you save on cost but compromise on service, you're not meeting the business need. If you are average on cost and average on service, but you're not driving any innovation or investments, or you do not have a strategic view of where are you going, or how are you truly partnering with your client, then this is not the total best equation, right? So of course, let's go by the points listed here to take it one by one. When we talk quality, reliability, these are of course things that we don't compromise on, especially if you're working with large clients that have quality assurance team that really monitor and focus everything up to the dot. If you continue to work with the quality not being stable, and you will lose a lot of money. It's going to be a bleeder for you, right? So ensuring that you have the right quality, reliability in a consistent manner, and in a way that you continue to improve and optimize, as we stated earlier. This is how you need to think of it, whether it's a service or whether it's a good that you're producing. Commercial and market expertise, this point specifically is very close to my heart. Let me tell you why. In the industry I work in, something like logistics, I truly rely heavily on knowledge that my suppliers have. I look at my suppliers as the market experts. They are the ones on ground. They are the ones that know. Whenever there is a regulatory update, they know what's happening, like as lobbying discussions, for example, happening in the government, they would assess and know about a risk before it happens, and they would come and inform me. So you as a woman entrepreneur or as owner of a company, always make sure that you are looked at and viewed as the expert of your area, the expert of your market. The more you feed your client with market insights and what is happening, what's new, what could happen, what are the risks, the more you give this kind of consultation, the more valued you're going to be. You will be driving your relationship with your client from just being a supplier into a really true partner, right? So being the market on ground, feeding your clients with insights is something very important to help you grow your business. And it's something very important to us as well as the buyer, the receiving part. Responsiveness and agility. Of course, these two things, especially in the very hectic and very speedy world that we are living in now, I mean, there is no much room for someone, you know, like waiting for a week or 2 weeks for a solution to be provided or for an email to be responded. Or so, I mean, it speaks for itself. You need to be fast. You need to be fast in serving your client. You need to be fast in developing your teams. You need to be fast as we live. I mean, this is the pace of the world we live in nowadays. Competitive pricing, even if you realize we did not put this as the number one, the pricing, but of course it's very important. I mean, yes, we have a diversity program, we have diversity targets, lots of other big clients like P&G do have similar targets, but if you're not making sense from a commercial standpoint, if your proposal is not feasible for us, it does not help us carry on the discussion internally, right? Because whenever we make award business decisions, of course, this is being discussed internally with stakeholders. We put recommendations in place. So you, as a business owner, you need to enable me from a commercial standpoint to have a sensible discussion internally with the business. I cannot just go to the business and say, yeah, I want to bring in this supplier only because she's woman-owned, right? It will not sell. Similarly with other clients. So you need to make sure that you have the right commercials in place that make sense for the business. And besides the starting point of your commercials, and one advice here, which I will tell you, avoid lowballing. What do we mean by lowballing? I mean, if you're approaching a client or a company that has purchasing experts, they can immediately tell from the first glance whether your prices make sense or you're just putting your prices down to win the business and enter the market. We can tell. We also have the knowledge, we have the visibility, we look at your competition, we have rate cards in place, be it historical or current, we have forecasts of the future. So we can immediately identify a supplier who's just trying to reduce the rate just to win the business. And trust me, those ones, they do not get the business because we know very well what's going to happen a few months down the line. We'll run into discussions of, oh, I need a price relief, or I have to increase my prices, etc. By that time, we've already invested a lot of time and resources and effort to qualify you, to bring you in. So don't play this game of lowballing, right? So try to maintain your competitive commercial proposal with what's a plus here, what would give you an edge over others is always having a year-on-year optimization plan. Like for instance, if you come to me today or to any of my purchasing colleagues and you say, you know what, this is the rate I'm giving you today. However, I have a plan to help you reduce your costs within the coming 2 to 3 years. We love such suppliers that start thinking this way, because it shows that you're thinking strategically. It shows us that, yeah, there is potential for long-term business relationship with you. And it shows us that you are up to date with what's happening. You can anticipate and forecast the future. So always, whenever you submit a proposal, think of, how can I drive value to my partner, to my client every year, not only the first year. We do not want suppliers who come, like first year working excellent with us, and then the next year coming with a rate increase because of inflation. Yes, we know inflation. We all face inflation, be it as consumers, as organization, as entrepreneurs, so we know that. Financial stability, that's another important topic. Be very, very true with yourself on where do you stand financially, right? Of course, it's good to take big challenges, but at least be transparent about it. If it's something that's beyond your financial ability, for example, do not allow yourself to drown there. Be transparent with your client. And majority of the big clients have solutions, finance solutions. Like, for example, in Png, we have a specific program that's called supply chain financing that supports medium-sized companies or any companies with cash flow, like, I don't want to call it a risk, but cash flow volatility, for example, right? And we support these people. So always be very, very honest with yourself and where do you stand financially. Understand the size of the business that you're getting into, and ask the question. Ask your clients, like, do you offer any supply chain financing or programs that helps women entrepreneurs? It is your right to ask, right? But then, of course, if they do not have it, it's not your right to push for it. But I mean, like, ask the question. It's okay to ask it. Innovative solutions, we've talked about it. I mean, this is where the world is going. Even you as a consumer today, if you're using a manual toothbrush and then you started moving into using a toothbrush, an electronic one, you would expect in another few years something innovative or new to come. If you look at the phones we're holding today in our hands, similarly, we all look for innovation. So keep this as part of your DNA for your startups and for your companies. Responsible sourcing and supply chain sustainability. These topics, or these two statements, are being more common now. They have existed for a few years, but it's becoming more common now. It's becoming more of a need to be aware of it. What are you doing in terms of sustainability? What are you doing for citizenship? How are you helping the world? How are you adding value to your community? How are you adding value to the environment? All of these things, if you're already active on it, please do share these with your clients, because it does give you an edge, right? Over others that probably do not take any actions, right? And last, I would talk about is digitization and simplified systems. And especially in today's world, when you look at how technology has evolved, I mean, everything is with a click of a button. Digitization is very important, of course. And we understand that backend, it's not something easy to invest in, but if you get the opportunity, or if you already are investing in digitization, talk about this. But most importantly, know something is that when you approach your clients, do not go with a selling point of, yes, because I'm digital, I think I'm the right partner for you. Because guess what? All of these big clients and probably many of the big clients that you would approach in the future, they already have invested in these solutions. So know what you have as digital capability, know what the client is missing, and this is where you need to tap into the missed opportunities, the gaps, and that's basically what's going to help you. I think there are no more additional slides. This one has basically covered what we mean by best total value, right? So whenever you think of yourself of I'm going to prepare a proposal, or I want to approach this company. I want to think about all of these points because they're really very important. And once you understand them, it will open the doors for you to even have a proper conversation with whenever you're running a pitch for a business, right? I wish you all the best, everyone on the call. Thank you so much. I think there is a question. Nihal, how do we take the questions? Oh, there is one more slide. Do you want to take the question first and we move to the next slide, or?
No, no. So you can finish up, but we're a bit over time. So if you can wrap up this slide.
I'll make this very quickly. In a nutshell, every company has their own qualification tools, system, processes that they need to go through. Make sure that you have the capability on understanding of how these tools work, because if you miss a point of registration or qualification or something, this could hinder your ability to get a business. Basically, that's what I wanted to say. And for Png, we already have our own tools. What I would advise you to do as the last thing, Nihal, I'm sorry, very quickly, but please do visit png.com, our supplier web page, right? And you'll find a lot of helpful material over there for you. Thank you. Yes, Nihal.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mohammed and Diana. It's quite, it's quite nice, quite beneficial. I like how, the storytelling, the skills that you have, Diana, you shared it very nice and simply. You've simplified a very,
a very complex area.
Very complex, yes. So thank you very much for
harness the complexities.
Yes. No, so thank you very much. And thank you, Mohammed, very much for the introduction at the beginning. It was, the key principles, you've shared it very nicely and very concise. Perfect. So let me start by sharing the question. So we have a question here from Michelle. So how do female suppliers like us find out what the key challenges are for the different departments or for Png as a whole, so we understand the problem statement and meet your needs? Mohammed, would you like to answer?
Sure. This is applicable to all business partners, right? So first start with what is your core competency as a business partner? What is the service that you provide? And then you will send this to us, and then we will marry your service with the right internal partners. And we discuss moving forward is the ongoing business need and how does it make sense for both of us.
Okay. Great, thank you, Mohammed. So, Michelle, there was a follow-up question. Are there particular companies that you don't work with, such as self-employed? Let me answer this quickly. No, we work with all companies, unless, of course, they need to have our same principles and values, like Diana has shared. We need to make sure that there is responsible sourcing, and because at the end, you are an extended business partner for Png. So we need to make sure that you are reflecting our same values and principles and not do something that is harmful for the community or the environment that we work in. So thank you. So Tabitha shared, are there any mandatory certifications and ratings that your suppliers need to have before we can participate in the RFPs? So Diana or Mohammed, would you like to answer? Maybe you take one by one. So Diana, yes.
So I'm sorry, Nihal, can you repeat the question, please?
Are there any mandatory certifications and ratings that your suppliers need to have before they can participate in the RFPs?
It's no, not necessary. So it really depends on the area that you're interested in or the service that you want to join. Sometimes we can invite you into RFQ before having you qualified, but because qualification itself takes time and resources, right? So not necessary. Yes, you can be invited into an RFQ without being certified or qualified or even registered as a start. But then the business itself would not start until you are registered and qualified.
Great, thank you, Diana. So Michelle has also.
Can I just add on top of that? Exactly, like Diana said, I mean, you just need the basic trade license. And then, like Diana mentioned, there's some qualification that we do, third-party risk management that we do internally, depending on the service that you provide. And then there'll be some qualification that will go, which is anti-bribery, information security, and privacy. So these are the qualifications that are internal to Png that we do after that we've engaged and interact with each other.
And you can know
Thank you.
more about these three aspects on the Png website.
Yeah, so there's a link I will share here in the chat for our suppliers. So for new and existing vendors, where you have everything from starting from like what Mohammed has shared, our key purchasing principles, our citizenship, supplier diversity program, as well as what you need to do to become a new vendor. So I'll be sharing this, I'll be posting it in the chat. So another question from Lubna, amazing presentation, everyone. Thank you. I would like to better understand how you identify women-owned business versus women-led and managed. So for example, our company is a shareholder corporation of 14 years of experience on paper. It's owned by 5 to 3 men, 2 men, women percentage. However, most shareholders are silent and the company is managed and led by 2 women versus 1 man. You consider this as women-owned business. So thank you, Lubna. So this is, I'll take this question if you don't mind. So this, we have 2 definitions. We have women-owned and women-led. Women-owned is the 51% managed, owned, and led by women. And then you have the women-led, where the top position in the company is majority with women. So the CEO or so. So you would be considered a women-led company. And this is part of also our supplier diversity program. Patricia, I'd like to ask you, do we get women-led businesses, can they register on the WE community or not?
We do request that companies that are 51% owned and managed and controlled register on the database. If you tell us that you are not 51% owned as well as managed and controlled, then we do not, unfortunately, accept your request to join the database.
Okay. So, but however, Lubna, for Png, we do work. I mean, part of our supplier diversity is women-owned as well. And we've got 2 criteria. We have either women-owned or women-led. So you do fit the women-led criteria. So you would be considered for Png a diverse supplier. So that's great. Thank you. So we have another question from Bahia. Do you usually send the bid out for companies which do not meet the base criteria, meaning quality, commercial responsiveness? And 2, for corporate services such as intellectual property services, which are done from HQ, is the Middle East region involved in this procurement process? Mohammed?
Sure. For the first point, I mean, before assessing that you do not meet the base criteria, I need to send the bid anyways, regardless. I mean, so we'll still give you the opportunity to bid and to reverse and to challenge, right? So we'll give that to you. So that's the first question. Unless we know from the very beginning that there's something that violates our principles or our values or something that's worth blacklisting, we give everyone the open opportunity to bid always. Second, I think you would need to double click on what is meant by corporate services and intellectual property. But if I have to go back to the organization, from this region, we buy transportation, warehousing, brand building, raw and pack. So anything that is not bought here, yes, there's other region that might buy it. I'll give you examples, insurance or professional services. However, we have a very strong local influence and weight about that. So this is it. Unless you meant something else, please just post the question and then we'll answer it.
I just want to say one thing here. Bahia, you wanted to say something? Please go ahead.
Yeah, so you're unmuting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm unmuting. I was talking about exactly that. IP services are like legal services which are under HQ usually. So it's part of brand, but it's brand protection. So that's what I was wondering about, like how are you involved in this process? Because we're always invited, but then it stops.
Got it. Very
So
clear.
I was wondering how we can start the conversation because we don't have a relationship. We're just invited.
Very clear. I would love if you can have this discussion offline, just if you can reach out to us, to Diana and myself, and then we'll
Sounds
take
good.
it from there, just to understand where it has dropped.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
No worries.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Bahia. So so I also have another question that I mean, we've seen quite often. So let me share it with you. So, sorry. Yeah. So what incentives do we offer as Png to SMEs to enable them to be part of our supply chain? Diana, would you like to answer that?
What incentives do we offer?
Yes, so small SMEs or women-owned businesses to enable them to be part of our supply chain.
Again, I think this links back to a point which I have mentioned in the slide. Being a woman-owned business by itself will not give you the edge, right? What's important is ensuring that your principles match our principles, ensuring that you have the total best value equation. These are the elements, but apart from this, we really work in a very ethical and fair manner. We give everyone a fair opportunity. So I hope this answers your question.
Yes. Thank you, Diana.
Absolutely. Can I just build on that? Exactly as Diana said. I mean, there's ethical, fairly, and we don't give anyone a sense of entitlement. The only thing that we can do is that we extend the kind of partnership that we have with other bank facilities, such as supply chain financing, that could help you, for example, to start to do business with Png, but we don't get involved with that. So we just link you directly with our partners, but that's it. And this is applicable to across all our business partners. Just as Diana mentioned, there's no preferentialism that happens here.
Perfect, thank you. So one last question, because we have 4 minutes left, is what do I need to do to become a supplier?
All right, so can I take this one? All right. Everyone in the call, please, we're going to be sharing our contacts, Hamad and myself. Although, again, we're a lot of different procurement leaders across the globe, right? And not everything is bought out of the region or Dubai here, but please do reach out to us with your company profile. We'll have a look at it. We'll either, if it falls under our direct scope, we'll look into it. If not, we will pass it on to our colleagues to have a look at it, right? That's one. And then also there is a part in P&G's website, again, on becoming a P&G supplier. There is a specific link that you can go there, fill in your details if you are interested to be a P&G supplier. So 2 aspects, either direct contact from this connect that we're having, or else you can simply use the website.
Again, I've just posted the website here on the chat. It's pgsupplier.com. So you'd find access to all the information that you want, that you need as a new supplier or a existing supplier. You've got all the purchasing principles, our citizenship, supplier diversity program, our invoicing, procurement process, everything you need. And of course, some good news about how we've been doing the last quarter and now how we've exceeded actually our sales. So that's it. So thank you very much. So if we can go to the next slide. So key takeaways. So purchases, we are responsible of sourcing all goods and services. We are guided by our 5 principles for strategic sourcing. And like Diana's beautifully mentioned, procurement starts with the need. And we award the business based on multiple criteria that formulate the best overall value. This is all done while we ensure that stewardship is the governing principle for all our processes. Thank you very much, and thank you, Patricia, for leading this. And I hand over to you. And of course, sorry, thank you. I have to thank the stars here, Mohammed and Diana, for this very informative.
Thank you, Nihal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, all 3 of you are stars. Nihal has been a real leader on what we call gender inclusive sourcing. And it's thanks to her that that we're getting started up in the region. So thank you, Nihal. Before we close, I want to circle back to what we mentioned at the top of the webinar, that there are going to be multiple opportunities for you to continue to learn how to sell to large companies or to those companies' suppliers as we get started in the region. And one of the best ways to learn is to be accepted into the Png Women Entrepreneurs Academy, which we've run in 11 countries already, and now we're bringing it to the UAE, March 7th to 10th. I am going to be sending all of you the direct links to the application. The application is due on February 3rd, which is in a few days. It's not hard to fill in the application. Really encourage you to do it. It's 4 days of training, the week of International Women's Day, which is March 7th through 10th. And it's up to about 20 hours together. So you'll also be forming a cohort and probably meet some other women-owned businesses that you want to stay in touch with. Quickly, we will admit into the program the women-owned businesses. So the business has to be at least 51% owned and managed and controlled by women. And we highly prefer that it be at least one of the women business owners who joins the 4 days of training. We might make exceptions to include a top-level executive from the company if for some reason the women business owner cannot attend. It is open to businesses who are based in the GCC countries. And we encourage you, if you meet those criteria, to apply. We also are going to continue webinars. And next Monday, we have another one. It's how to look your best, pitching your company to large buyers. And we have a special guest, two special guests. One of them is a certified women business enterprise, certified with WEConnect International. She's based out of Canada, and her specialty is coaching women-owned businesses on how to pitch to large buyers. So I encourage you to come. We are also going to be joined by Camel Slim, who is from Procter & Gamble as well, and he is quite an expert in what he likes to hear from suppliers when they're pitching. So please, you can sign up for that one here. And then the week after, we'll have another one that is generally about selling to large companies. And we will have not only Procter & Gamble, but at least 3 other member buyers speaking from their perspective. They will represent a variety of sectors at that webinar. And I will be sending out the signups for that a little later. We're going to continue the webinar series through May, at least. So please stay tuned. The best way for you to continue to receive these invitations is to register on the WEConnect International database. Again, I will be sending out the link. And remember, it's free to register and you're visible to buyers worldwide. And you're also visible to 14,000 women-owned businesses around the world. And if you have questions, you can contact me. I also want to mention, we will be sending out the slides for this webinar, and we're also going to be posting the webinar on YouTube. So please share that with your friends who couldn't make it today. And thank you, Nihal, for giving us the link to the Png site where you can register to be a supplier with Png. And also thank you, Diana and Mohammed, for sharing your emails so you can make direct contact with people on the call. I think what we're going to do is, if you'd like to stay on the line, I continued the Zoom link for 30 minutes. It's an opportunity for you all to network with each other. You can certainly ask me any follow-up questions if you want during this 30-minute period. Part of what we're doing and our intention is to really create a community among women-owned B2B companies. I welcome you, any of you who want to stay, and we're going to keep the link open, and I will be here for another 30 minutes. So thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank
So,
you, Patricia.
Really,
you.
thank you.
I'll be staying for the Connect if it's okay. I'd like to hear also from the women.
Sure. Anyone can stay. Yeah, absolutely. I
Fantastic.
don't have any slides for the next part. We're going to have to entertain each other. And I just really want, and I know it's late in everyone's day, and I so appreciate the fact that you joined us today. So feel free to unmute if you want to introduce yourself. Tell us what you thought about today. Tell us things on your mind.
Thank you very much. It was very informative and very much appreciated and needed in the region. I'm so excited to see this going on in the region. So thank you for all your efforts cumulatively.
Sure.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
You're calling from
Bahia,
Saudi, right?
question.
Yeah, sure.
So you're based out of, where are you based?
I live between New York and the Middle East. I work for the Middle East from the States usually.
Okay. And what is the biggest challenge that you face today while working with corporates?
There's a lot of internal bureaucracy that's not visible to external people. They write about their supplier program very visibly on their sites, but when you start the process, it's not smooth sailing. And I heard from my friends, it's not smooth sailing internally either, because it's also a combination of legacy and non-legacy systems. So yeah, like how to get this communication face to face, it's not easy to do. This is the hardest part. So yeah, thank you. Another thing is, that's why I was asking about the bid, like they care about quality, innovation, and so on. But to show that part of your service, it's later down the line. So we find that you have to price cut, get through the first process, and then start this conversation where, you know what, we actually have these, we're able to give these discounts because we've innovated for a while. It's not taken at the beginning of the process because there's no communication.
So I would highly recommend for you to join the next webinar on how to pitch, because it's always the first encounter with the buyers on what do we exactly need to hear, or what do we want to hear that would get you to take you to the next level and be able to share everything. So I highly encourage, thank you for sharing this. It's quite insightful, and I highly encourage you to join the next session.
Thank you. I will. Thank you very much.
So Lubna, you have a question?
Yes, hi everyone. I actually posted my question. I just have a comment, not a question. So as I've explained, we are more women-led and managed company. We are a digital consultancy and digital agency. So we work on the digital marketing side of the brands. Was it digital assets, websites, mobile apps, e-commerce, or was it digital marketing and communications? We are already registered as one of the suppliers for Png. We've worked already together on the citizenship and the women economic empowerment toolkit, which was actually a great cooperation, and we've managed to put out a complete toolkit that speaks about women. Now, my comment is that unfortunately, sometimes women do not have the financial capabilities to put in investments as 51% and to own businesses, whether it's small, medium, or big. So one of the examples that I myself would put in, and it's one of, I think, the challenges that many women like me has faced, is that basically I've entered as one of the shareholders in a company that existed in the market for 13 years. We have a branch in Egypt and in UAE that serves international markets, not only UAE, but also the GCC, Canada, and the States, and Asia as well. When I stepped in, the company was, I stepped into the company 4 years back, and I've had the company expand to different businesses and international markets from the UAE. women like me have put a lot of efforts, have put a lot of skills and a lot of hours working, but unfortunately with programs like these, we do have constraints to join in. I understand these are the rules, I understand these are the regulations. I just would really want to put out a word for companies like you to consider perhaps bigger or more engagement to companies that are managed and led by women as well, because not everyone has the capabilities to do investments and put funds into businesses to grow. But we do have the minds to grow businesses. And I think that's what's more important, you know. So yeah, just a comment.
So, Patricia, you want to start and then I comment, or?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So thank you, Lubna. So what we do is we do not facilitate for diverse suppliers. What we do is we have a target to offer 10%, because today, as Patricia shared at the beginning, although women-owned businesses represent 1/3 of the SMEs, they get only awarded 1% of the spend with large corporations, whether private or public sector. Now in Png, we've had a target for the last few years, and we've been exceeding this target year on year. Today, our target is to spend 10% with women or with diverse suppliers by 2030. And as I've mentioned, this for us, diverse suppliers are either in the Middle East, either women-owned businesses or women-led. So we have when we started, we've only limited it to women, 51% owned, managed, and led by women. Sorry, and now we have a second definition, which is women-led companies, meaning that the highest position in the company sits with a woman. So you fit this criteria. Now we agree with you, and because today we do see that a lot of women have limitations or have challenges when it comes to access to capital and how to invest in their company. So that's why we broadened the definition. We're also working on a third definition now that it is taking still some time, which is women empowering companies. So companies that have strong gender equality values or principles or practices that they do. We might not still consider them as a diverse supplier, but it's something that we encourage. So it's part of the overall value that you offer as a company. So the only thing is that you might not be considered a women-owned business and will not have access to the database or be part of the database that WEConnect is running, but still it's you are considered a diverse supplier for Procter & Gamble.
Thank you, Nihal. Yes.
And thank you for the work you've done on the toolkit.
Yeah, my message was more towards WEConnect, because they're doing amazing programs, and I think this is an amazing opportunity for all the women that work in the workplace, whether they are women-owned businesses or managed or led or maybe empowered as well, that you have just mentioned. So I would love to see more from WEConnect to start introducing us as women to other businesses as well. I understand that this is not for this program. I hope you guys would consider and do some exceptions for this program that is coming up in the academy. We would definitely be so happy to join in. If not, then I hope that entities like you would give us a chance to get to learn and get to engage with big brands like the logos that you have displayed on the screen.
Thank you so much, Lubna and Nihal. All makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, these challenges around women's economic empowerment are going to be addressed through a variety of different means and through a variety of different company structures and through a variety of different buyers like Procter & Gamble. I think for a relatively, I'd say, not overly resourced global nonprofit, we have to start somewhere. And our focus up until now has really been to support women ownership. because ultimately the owners are the ones who make the decisions about how those profits get reinvested and where they get reinvested. And we have seen that women business owners tend to reinvest in more economically and socially positive ways than male owners, honestly, research has shown. So from a economic development point of view, we really do feel it's important to support women-owned businesses. That said, there are internal discussions about our definitions, and I do think that as long as we can bring the buyer community and also the donor community along to support us to expand our definition and to be able to serve not only women-owned businesses, but businesses that are on the trajectory to becoming woman-owned, that's great. It's really at this point really a matter of resource constraints for us to serve everybody. But I hear you very clearly, and you know, we don't want it to be that it's primarily, you know, the women who were lucky enough to be born with, you know, from a certain family, or to have gone to certain schools, or to know the right bankers to get the capital. You know, like we really do want to be give every woman a leg up and an opportunity to own her own business. And we need even more supporters. We have 150 member buyers today, and we should have thousands. We have 14,000 women-owned businesses in our database, and we should have hundreds of thousands in our database. So, and we do want to support the pipeline of women, as you said, you know, women positive, women-led, women-owned. We want to support that pipeline. I hope I answered your question. Great. You guys feel free to unmute yourselves if you want. We'd love to hear your voices. I know a few people had to drop off. I know it's late for some people.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Sapphire.
Hi. Just wanted to just say, drop by and say hello. And it was a really good presentation, really enjoyed it. I just want to sort of get an overview. I'm in the property and finance space, and how would I get that into the corporates? Because it's a female-led, and I work primarily with females as well. So how would I put that into a corporate space with like P&G?
Sorry, so what is the service exactly that you're providing?
So I'm an investor.
Financial services?
And property investment, how to get into property investment as a woman coming from a professional space. So I'll be teaching them how to invest in property and looking at their financial literacy, as in educating them about finances as well, how to save for the future, how to put that into a pension fund, all of those different things as well.
Have you approached financial services buyers before, Sapphire?
No.
Well, many of them have programs focused on women as retail customers, women-owned businesses as business customers. And a lot of times they supplement those services, those products and services with training, etc. So maybe they would outsource training to someone like you. Maybe if financial services companies that are in the property space, you know, or maybe even real estate companies.
I'm coming from a different space. I'm trying to educate the corporate. So say like with the females on here, even yourself, have you thought about investments? Have you looked into building out a legacy for yourself? So I'm coming from a different perspective of utilizing the services of women within these corporate spaces to give them a better understanding of how they can use their salaries, their money to invest and make a retirement fund. So that's the perspective I'm coming from.
Yeah, and maybe a financial services firm would find that as an interesting supplement to the services they're already providing their customers or their potential customers, right? The banks we work with, I always see them trying to build this pipeline of women who either are going to switch from another bank to their bank, or maybe women who've never bought, let's say, investment advisory services before, and they don't realize they need it. They don't know. But your training could probably, turn a light bulb on for them that they actually do need an investment advisor or stuff.
Okay.
So Sapphire, consider registering on our database and
I'm with you.
make
I'm
sure
actually
you
with
build out your
Connect.
profile.
I've got a profile on your website. I should have. I've been with you for years.
Wonderful.
I also want to add something just to probably put more colors and hope into the discussion here. Usually also big companies similar to Png, sometimes we take like a 1 day per year to celebrate, rest, bring external speakers or external trainers, for not necessarily corporate trainings, but something that would benefit the team one way or another.
Yeah.
So I think that's another door that you need to look into, being like a side coach or trainer. That's an opportunity. It's a different line, but I mean, if you have the skills, knowledge, experience, why not? I mean, people pay money for that.
Yeah, I do. I'm a qualified. My qualifications stretch to about 16. I've got masters and degrees, so I'm qualified in the spaces that I teach, and I'm happy to do that. So it's just trying to understand what kind of format to come in with and present, because when you're looking at corporates, it can be sort of very scary to approach, as opposed to what you're saying now, coming in with a different style of doing like 1 day workshops or educating on coaching or something like that. So I can now take that approach and look at it differently, and then present in that way to say, this is what I have as an offering.
Sapphire, are you based in London?
Sorry?
Are you based in London, Sapphire?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think as well, one door, just to close with Sapphire here. Try approaching, the big travel agencies that do meetings and events. They usually have a big list of clients, and they're usually requested, like, hey, we want a trainer on this topic, a trainer on that topic. So approach those big meetings and events and travel agencies, that conduct the large events and exhibitions as well for corporates.
Brilliant, thank you.
I hope this helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Great idea. That's a great idea. So Khadija, are you in the region?
Yes, hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Hi. Actually, I was listening, and this event was very informative. I enjoyed it very much. And I'm from Bangladesh. I actually wanted to know that how Png defines a very small business. I mean, women, of course, it would be women-owned. How they define it?
Oh, in terms of size of employees or revenues or something?
Yeah, of course. I don't know this. And how they define it, and is it different in region to region, like South Asia, like Gulf area, or Europe, or America, or all are same?
That's a really good question. So Nihal, when you were referring to SMEs, does Png have a specific definition of what an SME is, and does it vary by region?
No, so we follow the local guidelines. It depends on what the local government, what is the definition of an SME. We also follow the local definition for women-owned businesses. So for example, in this region, the government does not have a definition for women-owned business. But if you look at some place like South Africa, women-owned business is considered from 30%. So we follow that. But here in this region, we follow the global guidelines, which is 51%. So in net, we follow the local guidelines if there are any.
Okay, so if there is any written guidance or anything that I can read it and I can know it in detail.
I think you need to look at the definition in the particular country you're interested in. So
Oh, I
if you're
understand.
based in Bangladesh, a corporation like Png would probably look at, as she just said, would look at the Bangladesh's definition of an SME.
Exactly.
So if I want to I want to be a supplier in Gulf area, but my business is located in Asia, then which I need to follow? I need to follow Gulf rules or I need to follow the Asian rules?
So it's you follow the rules of the country that your company is based in.
Oh, I got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great question. That's a great question. Ava, or let's see. Oh, I think she left. Ava, are you there? Do you want to say hi? She might not be there.
You're talking to me?
Oh, there's a Ava Pervin Jilic is
Oh,
on the
I'm
line.
sorry.
I think she's muted.
Yeah, there are two Pervin.
So
Okay, well, oh, she can't speak. Okay, we'll hear from you another time. So I feel like Procter & Gamble has really given us a quite exceptional and unique opportunity to hear from them and also to ask them questions.
no worries, Ava.
Finding discussion. I hope that you got something out of it. I'm going to be following up with the slides, with the link to the Png site, and also with emails. Is there anything else anyone wants to say in closing?
No, I'd just like to say from my end, thank you very much, Patricia, for leading this and facilitating it. It was great. And for the women here, Daria, I don't believe we've talked. Hello.
Hi, I'm just an intern for Patricia this semester.
No,
so-
not just an intern. She is
Okay,
one of our
sorry.
releases.
Welcome on board, Daria. So, and I would encourage, I mean, I know Khadija, you're in Bangladesh, and Sapphire, you're in the UK. Ava, if you are based here in the GCC, I would highly encourage you to register for the Png Women's Entrepreneur Academy. The application, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much interested, but I know what to do for doing this. Actually, I'm first time here. I haven't even registered before, like this type of event or this type of training program.
Well, welcome. So, Khadija, I'm going to follow up with you, make sure you know how to register on our database, connect you to our market lead in Bangladesh.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you. Okay. And please let all of your friends know who run women-owned businesses, because one of our objectives this year is to keep growing the database. No matter what country you're based in, we want you registered on our database because our member buyers need that database. They rely.
Thank you. I surely I will let them know.
Cool. All right.
And it's very good that you started, Khadija. All the best.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And we'll be following up.
Thank
We're
you.
going to close out now.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you
you.
Neha, for organizing. And thank you mostly for the audience for giving us this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Okay, everyone. Take care.
Thank you,
care.
everyone. Have a
Bye-bye.
lovely evening.
Bye-bye.
Working
Bye-bye.
hard. Bye.
Bye-bye.